When two Earths start moving toward each other, that's called an incursion. That's exactly what T'Challa saw when Black Swan destroyed another Earth to save this one. Now, the Illuminati were ready to do anything for survival, except Captain America. Only because of him, the Infinity Stones were used. But right after stopping one incursion, those stones shattered. And when Steve refused to destroy another world, the Illuminati, with the help of Doctor Strange, erased all of this from his memory. Now, moving forward. The next morning, Tony wakes Steve up. "Wake up, old man. I couldn't sleep all night. Came up with something big. You okay? Had a bad dream or something?" Steve says, "Oh, yeah, something like that." Tony says, "Come on, I'll get you some coffee." While walking, he continues, "I've been restless since last night. Threats in the world keep increasing. And how long can just 6 of us handle everything? What if one day the entire world turns against us? We need to be ready. We need to expand." Now we know why Tony is doing this. Because of incursions. It's not just that another Earth will come and we destroy it. The heroes of that Earth, can destroy ours too. So preparation is necessary. But Steve doesn't know any of this, so the two of them start recruiting. Joining the team, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Falcon, Captain Marvel, Spider-Woman, Shang-Chi, then Sunspot and Cannonball, 2 mutants, then Manifold, who has the power to instantly travel anywhere within his universe, and it was a variant of him that Black Swan killed earlier. Then comes Smasher, a girl from Earth, who later became part of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. Then Captain Universe, a sentient universe itself that chose a host, a woman named Tamara. She had lost her young daughter in a car accident and had been in a coma for 10 years. Why the universe chose her, we'll understand soon. Then Hyperion. His backstory is very important. He belongs to another universe, where his alien planet was destroyed. As a child, he was sent to Earth and grew up to become a great hero. His powers had to come from sunlight, but then an incursion happened in his universe. Hyperion used all his strength to hold both Earths apart. For some time, he succeeded, but eventually, they collided. Both universes destroyed, and Hyperion was left alone, floating in nothingness, until Earth 616's aim captured him. At that time, that he was extremely weak, because he had already used most of his power, and there was no sunlight. Later, the Avengers rescued him, and now he was part of the Avengers. From this story, we understand something important. Incursions are not new. They've been happening for a long time. It's just that the Illuminati found out now, and after removing Captain, they now had complete freedom. Tony arrives at the necropolis to check progress. There, Reed and T'Challa were building an antimatter bomb, just like the one Black Swan used. It would take another day or two to complete. Tony says, "This is all you managed to do? Put this helmet on. Let me show you what I built." He was building a Dyson sphere around Earth, powered by the sun. It could destroy the opposing Earth with a massive laser. Tony says, "Once this charges up, it'll blow them apart." Reed names it Soul's Hammer. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange was preparing forbidden dark magic. Seeing this, Wong gets nervous. Suddenly, Strange receives a signal. He says, "Time is running out, Wong. From today, you are the Sorcerer Supreme." The Illuminati arrive at the incursion point. This time, it's in New York, on Ellis Island. And this time, the scene isn't hidden from civilians either. Tony says, "I don't know why I thought that this would always happen in isolated places, that we just quietly handle everything. This morning I was so confident, and now we're running out of time. What do we do now?" Beast says, "I have an idea. In that other universe, there must be Infinity Stones too. Why don't we use those?" Reed replies, "That's a bit too optimistic. What are the chances all the stones are on that Earth, and we'll find them in time? And their people won't use them before us? And even if they are there, Infinity Stones don't work outside their own universe. We'd have to use them on their side." T'Challa says, "In that case, one of us would have to stay behind." Doctor Strange says, "Then we should try it. I even have a plan, but I'll have to stay alone." Beast says, "Okay, so no matter what, one of us won't come back." Namor starts laughing loudly. "Why are you scared of the truth? We're already dead." He moves forward toward the other Earth. The rest follow him. As soon as they land, they see a statue of Magneto. Reed says, 6 hours left. If we leave time for Strange, we have only 4. Suddenly, Black Bolt signals something. They look and see Galactus, and he had already started feeding. This Galactus was not from their universe. Seeing this, Reed says, "I need to get closer. But if he's like our Galactus, this Earth will be destroyed in minutes. We have to move now." Everyone stares at him. Reed says, "We can't just let them die like this. We have to try." T'Challa says, "Yes, we will." But before they can act, someone appears. Terax. He says, "My children, during an incursion, this is meaningless. You are already too late." Galactus hungers. Iron Man says, "Wait a minute. You know about incursions? And you knew to come here? How? Terrax replies, I know much more than you. And clearly you know nothing. At that moment, the Earth starts shaking. Galactus had begun. Reed activates his ultimate nullifier-like weapon and asks, Henry, how much time? 5 hours. Terrax says, you don't understand. First of all, who are you? I only recognize the Eye of Agamotto. The rest of you, I don't know. But Galactus is a universal constant. He must exist until the end of every universe. But because of this planet, universes are dying early. So by destroying this Earth, we save our universe. And in your universe, the same will happen. And it's not just Galactus who will come for you. So please go back to your home and let this Earth die. And if you want, you can play around a little. A fight begins. After intense battle, Black Bolt's scream finally defeats Terrax. But it was too late. Galactus had already finished. That Earth was destroyed. The Illuminati escape, taking Terrax with them. And back in the necropolis, he is imprisoned, along with Black Swan. Reed approaches Black Swan. She says, so you've finally come to the line. If you want my help, ask properly or don't ask at all. Reed says, I have no ego in asking for help. My concern is that it doesn't come with a price. Black Swan says, since I've been imprisoned here, 2 more incursions have happened. And we're still alive. So my prayers must be working. Rabam Alal's shadow is over you. You know all this. And still refuse to kill his gift. My price is survival. You foolish humans. Reed asks T'Challa, what do you think? T'Challa says, let's take her out. As they free her, he says cracking the wall was impressive. Black Swan replies, that wall is just for show. Underneath, there are lethal bombs. T'Challa says, yes, and a similar bomb is inside this small locket too. So behave and try to be useful. Black Swan smirks. You think you can control me like this? Do I look that stupid? They all sit down and start talking. Black Swan says, I guess you understand. At least a little, it's about what's going on. Because I told you. But even now, you have no idea yet what you're really facing. Doctor Strange says, then tell us. Black Swan spits and says, you shouldn't be talking to me. Reed says, just tell us what we don't know. We need to understand everything from the very beginning. Black Swan says, the beginning. In the beginning, everything exists, and everything is destroyed. Then, only darkness remains. I was 4 years old. My name was Yabat Uman Turu. My brother was the heir of a hidden city, and the keeper of the great key. That key opened the greatest treasure of our world, the Library of Worlds. My brother had the key, but untrained people that couldn't use it. They said only the great ladies could travel through worlds, but no one had ever seen them. Still, my brother opened that door every day, waiting for them, until one day, the sky turned red. The Black Priest came from another Earth. They killed everyone. No one survived, except me. I picked up the key, opened the door, and saw the great ladies waiting for me. They told me my world was a sacrifice for the great destroyer, Rabamalal. I accepted my new sisters. The Black Swans raised me, and I became one of them. Reed says, so there are others like you? Black Swan replies, of course. Black Panther asks, and this Library of Worlds, is it some kind of multiversal hub? Black Swan says, it's destroyed, scattered. Tony, irritated, says, okay. Sad story, condolences. But there are too many gaps. You just skipped millions of years. I want to know how all of this started. Black Swan says, I already told Reed. Didn't he tell you? There was an event. The birth of Rabam Alal, the great destroyer. And with his birth, everything started dying. Early. Since then, we sacrificed some Earths so that others can survive a little longer. Namor says, this is nonsense. Scary stories for kids. Tell us something real. Black Swan says, everything I've seen in my life sounds like horror stories, but it's all real. Incursions never stop until your world ends, until everything ends. That's the truth. Reed says, but there must be something we can do to save our universe, to stop incursions. Black Swan laughs. Stopping incursions, it is actually very easy. Come on, Reed. I'm sure you've already thought about it. Simply evacuate everyone from this Earth, send them somewhere safe, and destroy your own planet. This has been done before, many times. You're Henry McCoy, right? Beast says, yes. Black Swan continues, many of your variants have done this. In this game, Beast is quite famous. Beast asks, and doing this will save our universe? Black Swan replies, you don't understand. Nothing can be saved. This only delays incursions. This is the 8th method, called Shredding the Apocalypse. Tony says, 8th method? So there are more ways? You can teach us? Reed says, then we should start immediately. Black Panther says, no, wait. I still don't trust her. I saw you destroy an entire world. Black Swan replies, I've done worse. And you will too, when the time comes. She looks at their devices and says, these implants in your hands are a good start, but you'll need something better, more accurate. A device slightly outside your universe that can forecast incursions? Like mine, in my eyes. Beast asks, so you can tell when the next incursion will happen? Black Swan says, yes. Reed asks, when? Black Swan replies, in a few minutes. Everyone is shocked. She whispers, Rabamalal? Their devices activate. Tony says, damn, where? Reed checks and says, we're hit. T'Challa asks, what happened? Reed says, the location is Latveria. Everyone prepares. Before leaving, Iron Man says to Black Swan, we want to show you something. We built something like yours. Reed says, just tell us if it works properly. Black Panther says, we know it'll work, but we can't exactly beta test it. Black Swan says, do you even know what this is? Black Panther replies, yes, an antimatter bomb. Black Swan smiles, this is hope. A gift of Rabam Alal. I'm proud of you. Beast says, I'm sorry, but are we confusing need with desire? Namor says, these people will do what's necessary, but still want to feel like heroes. Iron Man says, we don't have time for this. Are we taking this device or not? Black Panther says, do we have another choice? As they teleport, Black Swan says, time either crushes a man or turns him into a weapon. You forged a sword. All that's left is the courage to stain it with blood. They arrive in Latveria. The incursion wall stood right in front of them. Reed says, so, Doom's castle, end of the world, perfect. Tony says, let's go, and walks in. Doctor Strange picks up the antimatter bomb. The others follow. This time, the atmosphere felt different. T'Challa and Black Swan both looked surprised. Reed says, the sky is blue. Black Swan immediately reacts, no, no, no. Blue is bad. Blue means map makers. Reed says, it's okay, we still have time. Just tell us what this is. Black Swan says, no, there is no time. Blue means map makers. And just like that, the map makers' army had arrived. Beast says, this is getting worse. Tony says, it was bound to happen eventually. Reed looks up and says, look at the castle. Is that Victor? Tony scans, no, that's his son, Kristoff. Reed says, then where is Dr. Doom? Meanwhile, Doom was already fighting. Surrounded by map makers, my kid, he shouts, out of the entire world. You chose my home? You dare enter Doom's domain? He throws them off himself and says, even the worst men know me, and even gods know me. Then who was foolish enough to try this? Tony says, Doom's here too. For now, I think they can handle it. T'Challa says, I don't think so. He's witnessing an incursion. Before the world ends, he'll see us too. And then he'll know everything. Beast says, yes, that could be a problem later. Black Swan shouts, didn't you hear me? You don't have time. Namor says, but the timer says more than 7 hours. Black Swan says, no. Blue means map makers. They don't use incursions the way they're supposed to. Come with me, I'll show you. And bring the bomb. They move to the other Earth. Black Swan explains, this is not an Earth. It used to be one before the map makers arrived. Tony scans. I'm not detecting any life. There's nothing alive on this entire planet. Black Swan says, they consume everything. They drain all life from a planet and leave just enough energy so that when the time comes, it can be destroyed. T'Challa asks, so they're going to destroy this planet? Black Swan says, this is how map makers work. They wait for an incursion, so their Earth gets close to another. They intentionally destabilize their dead world, then send a small fragment to the other Earth. And then they destroy their own planet. It looks like the new Earth survived. But that fragment acts like a marker. Then the map makers arrive there and repeat the same cycle. It's like a multiversal parasite. Namor says, good. And since nothing is alive here, we can do what we came for. And you all can sleep peacefully knowing we did nothing wrong. Reed says, should we vote? Black Swan says, you already know what needs to be done. They return to their Earth. The trigger for the bomb is in T'Challa's hand. He hesitates, trying to convince himself that what he's doing is right. Namor says, what are you waiting for? Black Panther says, I'm not waiting. I'm remembering who I used to be. And then he presses the trigger. The planet is destroyed. Black Swan says, now you are a real man. Your friends will soon become like you. T'Challa says, I take no pride in this. They return to Latveria, and then back to the necropolis. Reed comes to put Black Swan back in her cell. She says, so, back in the box? Reed replies, we voted on this. I lost. You saved us today. Black Swan says, you saved yourselves. Reed says, maybe, but I know where this is going. This is my gift. When others start seeing things my way, they'll understand. We need you. Meanwhile, Black Swan sits with Terax. She communicates telepathically. Terax laughs. How many times have I told you to stay out of my mind? Black Swan smiles. Terax asks, what do you want? Black Swan says, a big day is coming. very soon. I think we can be useful to each other. Meanwhile, in Latveria, Doom's son brings him something. Father, we found this. An artifact from the Incursion event. Found outside the castle. People said it fell from the sky. Doom already knew something was wrong. Meanwhile, like our original Avengers are heading to Mars. As they get closer, Steve says, "Wait a minute, there's a jungle on Mars?" Tony replies, "Surprising? Not really. On Earth too, where those bombs hit, the entire biosphere changed. Millions of years of evolution happened in minutes. And from 200 million kilometers away, they still managed to do all this. Whoever they are, they're godlike beings." Bruce says, 2 bombs. 2 million people. I don't care if they're aliens or gods. The Avengers didn't know. This was the work of Ex Nihilo, a gardener who loved creating new life, even forcefully evolving planets. Right now, he was growing forests on Mars and preparing to evolve Earth. He had already created a perfect version of humans, called Adam. And because of nepotism, his sister was there too, Abyss. She had abilities like mind control, shape-shifting, and more. There was also an ancient robot, Aleph. If a planet was unfit, it destroyed it. The Avengers try to fight, but Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye get taken down in the first round. Abyss mind controls Hulk and uses him to beat Thor. Then they bind them all with alien plants. In the end, Steve is getting beaten by Aleph. Ex Nihilo stops him, picks Steve up, places him in a Quinjet, and sends him back to Earth. As a warning, after 3 days, a broken Steve recovers a bit, and immediately calls the new Avengers. Meanwhile, Ex Nihilo continues dropping origin bombs across Earth. Places like Kobe, Japan, Chhatarpur, India, Savage Land, Norway, and more. The Avengers on Earth are analyzing everything. Sam is tracking the situation. Steve says, "I know who did this, and I'm already too late." He calls Manifold. "Can you take all of us to Mars?" Manifold says, "Yes." Steve says, "Avengers, assemble." They arrive, and an intense battle begins. One of the best moments, Hyperion versus mind-controlled Hulk, both overpowering each other. Meanwhile, Steve, Peter, and Sam are freeing the captured Avengers. Spider-Man says, "Dude, these vines are like titanium. I wish we had adamantium to cut them." Thor is freed, but even together, the Avengers can't defeat Ex Nihilo's team. Then, the spotlight shifts. Captain Universe arrives. Ex Nihilo bows. "Mother, you're here." Captain Universe says, "My children, your builders are finished. And now, your actions and you no longer matter. The cycle is broken. The system is broken. From now on, you will not destroy, subtab, or transform anything." Ex Nihilo and Abyss submit, but Aleph doesn't. He attacks and gets destroyed instantly. Later, Adam is in Thor's arms. Ex Nihilo asks, "Why are you taking Adam?" Captain Universe replies, "You made him human, so he will live with humans. And now you may do whatever you want on Mars." Ex Nihilo asks Steve, "Captain, doesn't it amaze you? There are so many planets, yet the universe chose Earth as its home." Steve replies, "I guess it's an Avengers world. We're just living in it." Meanwhile, on Earth, all the origin bomb zones start producing new life forms. At Avengers Tower, Shang-Chi asks Captain Universe, "Why did you choose Tamara as your host?" Captain Universe says, "The host is broken. Everything is broken. And Earth is significant. The entire multiverse revolves around it. This is where everything will begin and end. That's why I chose Earth." Shang-Chi asks, "Okay, but why Tamara?" Captain Universe says, "Because she is broken. She is dying, just like me." Hearing this, Shang-Chi rushes her to Tony. At that moment, Tony is trying to communicate with Adam, but can't understand his language. Captain Universe installs a meta AI in Adam's mouth. Now, he speaks in English. He says, "My name is Nightmask. The system is broken. The white event is coming." At that very moment, a massive beam of energy hits Earth from somewhere beyond. This came from the superflow. Now, what exactly is that? Listen carefully. On a much larger scale, something far bigger was happening. For every universe outside the multiverse, inside something called the dream space, there exist monitoring stations. Each station watches over a specific universe, and the place where all these stations exist is called the superflow. These systems were created by the builders, and to maintain them, a caretaker was assigned. He lived outside dream space in something called the Strand Web, the nexus of all superflows, a central station. Everything was stable until suddenly the caretaker panics. His robotic assistant, the curator, reports all stations are going offline rapidly. Something is destroying them. The curator says, "Sir, yet from outside dream space, we cannot understand what's happening." So, on the caretaker's command, the main station enters dream space. But now, even it is about to be destroyed. The caretaker says, "Our master spent millions of years building this system, and this is how it ends?" He asks, "How many stations are left?" The curator replies, 192, 151, 127. Dropping rapidly, the caretaker says, "Save as many as you can. Command all stations to fire. Forgive me, my builders." And then the main system explodes. The remaining superflow stations fire their energy beams just before being destroyed. One of those beams belongs to Earth 616's superflow, and that beam is what hit Earth. This event is called the White Event. Normally, this is triggered when a universe-level threat appears. At that moment, certain individuals are chosen as avatars. They are granted special powers. One becomes Night Mask, another Justice. One becomes a Surfer, one a Starbrand, and sometimes a Spitfire. But this time, the system was in panic, and then the station was destroyed, so the system became corrupted. Because of that, everything went random. Anyone could become anything. Some avatars might not even have been created properly, and because of that, Adam had already become Night Mask. He uses Tony's machines to locate others and finds only one, a Starbrand, a college student who couldn't control his power. He accidentally destroyed his own college. Thousands died. The Avengers arrive to capture him, but he loses control again, even attacks them. Hulk, Captain Marvel, Thor, Hyperion all struggle to stop him. Then Night Mask takes him away into dream space and confirms the truth. The system is broken. From there, they go to Mars, to Ex Nihilo, and discover the origin bomb zones on Earth are about to cause chaos. First, Croatia, a giant brain-like structure forms. Starbrand destroys it, but the Avengers arrive again, and another intense battle begins. This time, Starbrand surrenders, and Tony imprisons them inside Soul's hammer. Another impact zone in Canada. A team called Omega Flight goes to investigate, but never returns. So the Avengers are called. One of the members, a girl named Validator, her father, also an agent, joins the mission. As they enter the zone, they realize reality itself is broken. Physics doesn't work. They see alternate versions of themselves. They get trapped in time loops. Eventually, they find Validator. She wasn't dead, but merged with the system. Her father approaches her. She says, "Dad, something crazy happened here. And to me too. We created something, and I have to protect it. It's bigger than we can imagine. The system is now online." They escape the zone. But outside, Validator's father kills himself. The Avengers return. Meanwhile, Tony is far away from Earth, talking to Reed. Tony asks, "So nothing happened?" Reed replies, "It feels like the calm before a storm. It's been 28 days since our last incursion, and our new warning systems haven't detected anything for at least 12 hours. Tony says, "In the first 16 days, we had 4 incursions. And now this silence feels wrong. And tell me, how's our world-destroying firecracker?" Reed says, "We gave her books. She reads all day." And Terax remains silent. Tony asks, "And the others?" Reed says, "Not great. Beast has undergone some mutation. He's bigger now, but mentally stable. It's been over a week, and there's no sign of Strange. Black Bolt is acting strange too. And the worst situation, a conflict between Wakanda and Atlantis. Some Atlanteans were captured. In response, they killed several Wakandans. Now over 60 are dead." Tony says, "So T'Challa and Namor?" Reed says they're not talking. Meanwhile, in the necropolis, Namor comes to meet T'Challa. T'Challa says, "Well, stop right there. Say what you want." Namor says, "I just want to talk. Whatever happened, I had no role in it. My people are more unstable than me. But understand this, there's a much bigger threat ahead. We should focus on that instead of fighting each other." T'Challa says, "I have no control. I'm not the king of Wakanda." Sure he is, and I don't think she'll back down. Namor says, "Then try. Convince your council. My offer won't last forever." T'Challa stays silent. Namor leaves. Meanwhile, in Latveria, Dr. Doom invites Reed and Doctor Strange for dinner. While eating, Reed asks, "So tell me, Victor, why did you call us here?" Doom replies, "Strange thing, after becoming the ruler of a nation, I realized something. The only constant is information. And the real game is understanding which information matters and which is useless, especially when information starts contradicting itself. For example, I heard that you were lost in space-time, and yet, here you are. How?" Reed calmly says, "I move from one place to another. Some people sleep peacefully, and some stay awake to protect that peace." Doom says, "So that's your answer. Where are you these days? And if I ask what you've been doing?" Reed replies, "A lot." Doctor Strange interrupts, "The food is excellent, Victor. Why aren't you eating? Is there no system to put a spoon inside that mask? Enjoy the meal. Don't ask questions that don't concern you." Kristoff says, "A month ago, we saw something here. A second world hanging in the sky." Strange says, "I don't know what you're talking about." Kristoff slams the table. "I saw it with my own eyes. Bodies of people from another world in our city? This happened here, in Latveria, with my people. I know what game you're playing." Strange stays silent. Reed stands up and says, "This isn't a game, Victor. If it were yet, there would be winners and losers. But now, it feels like there will only be losers. Thank you for dinner, but don't bring this up again. This is your last warning. Meanwhile, in Attilan, Black Bolt stands before his throne. In front of him are his 5 queens. Without informing them, he had left earlier. This time, he had gone to his brother, Maximus the Mad. He was building a massive machine. What it is, we'll see later. Back in the necropolis, Reed and T'Challa are working. T'Challa tells him about the situation with Namor. Reed says in situations like this, peace is the better option. I don't believe in violence. T'Challa replies, and I don't believe in risking my nation's safety. But look at us now. Look what time has turned us into. They had already built multiple antimatter bombs. T'Challa asks, will this be enough? Reed says, infinite worlds, T'Challa? This is not enough. You already know what you have to do. The next day, in the council, T'Challa tries hard to stop the war, but the council refuses, and Shuri declares war, and now the real chaos begins. From the next episode, if you made it this far, give me a 21-gun salute, drop a like from my side, and if possible, tell me how the video was. You can subscribe if you want. To watch the full playlist, check the description. Thank you.